So let's say I'm a small business, I have some apps that are coming out, and I'm working with a very lean team of people. What do I need to do in terms of thinking about security and tracking and privacy? On the one hand, to make the user feel safe, like I'm not manipulating them, that I'm using encryption, et cetera, and on the other hand, leveraging it.
Well, now that Apple's fixed SSL, you can use that again. That was a big deal. And that was really worrying. The second is, I mean, again, the iPhone makes it so it's pretty easy. If you're asking for permissions, like say you want to use the microphone for some legitimate reason, explain why. There's nothing worse than popping open an app that you don't understand why it should be using location and it asks to use location. Because you're just going to say no every time, and you as an app developer, that's a big problem. You may have a really good reason to do it, but if it's not immediately apparent to the user. So the best apps I see are the ones where the onboarding experience is, basically tells you, hey, this is what we're going to ask for, this is why we're going to ask for it, hit OK, and you can decide if this is good. So that's set expectations. Same with any sort of client management. That would be first thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're always going to get a pretty firm yes on, and what this really boils down to is user first, user integrity. I mean, that's the common theme in our industry right now, which is taking, quite frankly, too long to get there. But there isn't anyone in our space that isn't thinking about how the user comes first, and whether that means ad delivery, whether it means monetization, whether it means what they're signing up for. That is a critical aspect. Those examples are good ones as it relates to being very upfront with who your customer is.
I feel like no one has that conversation, and it's such something that would be so much more interesting, which is like, I feel like actually I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I feel like podcasts are like the only medium where I feel guilty skipping or blocking ads, because it's the same person reading it to me. They're like, hey, thank you for the support of the show. I'm going to read what it is, and they explain it. Whereas in an app, that banner is just silently there. Mm-hmm. I mean, what if you said at the beginning, hey, this app has banners. Here's why. We have a team of 12 people. We want to work hard to build you the best experience. To fix bugs and add new features, we need to be able to keep the lights on. Okay. Like, that type of thing is just absent. And I think what happens is we get so clouded up in A/B tests that no one tries anything new. Because they're just looking at kind of the things they can measure, and that's so hard to do. I think that's why most small shops, even lean startups, one of the first 10 hires is a community manager, just to understand the people who are using their app, because it's such a valuable source of innovation and or source of intelligence, so you can focus your innovation.
Now, based on your areas of expertise in knowing what's being collected and the advertising that's going on, are there any red flags that you sometimes see in apps in the way that they market themselves, or the EULAs, that make you say, you know what, no, I'm not downloading this, I'm not starting a user account? Any red flags?
Again, it's the same thing. If they would just explain it to me. If an app is...
But does that ever actually stop you from downloading the app?
Yeah, I've deleted apps lots of times. There's an app that had a lot of promise for me. It was called Saga. It was an app for logging your life, it's an app for logging your life that you're supposed to tell it everything about itself and kind of log and quantify yourself, and give it access to everything on your phone, and it's free. Like, how nervous does that make you for an app that's designed for you to tell everything about what you're doing is free and it's connected to the server all the time? I think if they told me, hey, this is how we plan to make money, this is how it's going to hold for the future, here's the things you need to know to make it comfortable. A plain speech EULA. I really like what Tumblr does with their EULA, which is they put it on GitHub and anyone can edit it and commit to it, and it's got really funny text in it too sometimes. We assume people don't want to know about that stuff and see if we can get away with it, and then use the proof that most people don't understand what it means as proof that they don't mind.
And the EULA is that's the contract that says I'm signing away my life, that you would just say, yes, I accept.
Which may or may not be legally enforceable.
Really? Okay.
I probably go down probably a boring case study of, like, I use major services like Airbnb and Uber and WhatsApp and things like that that are profoundly on stable ground and work. And I'm sure, and that's what I use. I don't, there's probably, I'm probably not the right news case for somebody that's going to kind of stumble into something unknown, or I'll use, CNN or ESPN or CBS.
So it has a reputation, has a large follower base.
Well, just because I don't have time to go kind of scour and look for something. Generally, it's going to come through word of mouth, and I feel like if you want to play on safe ground, you're going to hear about it very naturally and organically if there's true utility. Do believe though that the advertising experience within games, which is a big part of where our model is. After you complete a level, congratulations, a word from our friends. So that same notion of, hey, we have to keep the lights on, it's not that long. It's congratulations, you just completed level 4. Good luck with level 5, a word from Coke. Okay, you know what I just did. You acknowledge what I did. You kind of gave me a virtual tap on the back, and you did it at a point that's not interruptive. What we would not do at our organization is right before you start your game, you're forced to watch something. And a lot of companies do that, and quite frankly, a lot of companies make way more money than we do as a result of it. So it's just our model is more about kind of timing and context.
What about the model of having a free game with ads or a free app with ads and the 99-cent pro version ad-free? How does that model working out? I mean, I still see it. It's still there. And I know a lot of people wish Gmail would do something like that.
I think a lot of the businesses that, look at Spotify, I think a lot of businesses, you look at the numbers as it relates to subscription based, and then they change their model. They change the models. They see that advertising is going to take more time. Michael kind of touched on it earlier, but like we're still, we've come a long way, but mobile advertising is going to only improve through data. So that's good news. But until it gets to that stage, if you're an IPO or pre-IPO company and you need to make money, you're still looking at other revenue sources that may be subscription-based or whatnot. So that's kind of an interesting trend, is look at the companies that offer a free service to some extent, and then they charge you $9 or $10 a month for a premium, and then they begin to change their model somewhat to leverage what consumers really want.
I think the data points I've read, less than 3 to 4% will actually purchase. It almost answers your question before, what percent of people will opt out of advertising tracking and location tracking. By nature of that example, if only 3% are actually paying 99 cents for the year or for the eternity of the app, you have to have a lot of those people paying to get to the economics that you may realize through an advertising model.
The advertiser, for 95% of apps, 98, maybe 99, will always outbid the audience. And that's,
what do you mean by that?
What I mean by outbid is, there's some people who, I occasionally buy a premium version of an app that I feel like I use all the time. Like I treat that as something that, I should value and I pay for. But I'm probably, like Michael said, 3 out of 100. And 3 people, say you have 50,000 users. Now you're getting 3% of that. Quick, what's the math on that? That's it's not much. it's in the tens, and so you have 3 out of there it is, 900. So you have that, and that's not enough to keep the lights on. But 50,000
users. And you're still only
users,
taking a percentage of that because
exactly, and
right.
50,000 users will, and that's the challenge, and that's why what happens is people end up diversifying the revenue streams. You give it away free, so now if you're successful and you've captured lightning in a bottle, you have a platform. And now that you have a platform, then you can explore and you can test. You can turn in a pro version. You can have the ad-supported version that comes in, and you can try out all these different units and try out, A/B test different ad networks to see which one's going to be the one that gets your most user engagement, but also, makes you the most money. And then the final one is the in-app purchases. Like, what content are you providing, or kind of running that in? And I think we're at a very interesting time where it's not cut and dry how you make money in this ecosystem.